would again require access to the donor.
The Bad Batch Season 1 has come to an end, and with the final scene that we got at the end of Kamino Lost, it's very apparent that Lucasfilm are confirming what we all suspected, that they're trying to connect the Bad Batch to the wider Star Wars universe, more specifically to The Mandalorian and its spin-off shows. While The Bad Batch takes place nearly 30 years before the live-action shows, they're setting up characters that have important stories by the time that the Empire falls after Return of the Jedi. The final scene showed Nala Se, who is now possessed by the Empire, being escorted to a cloning facility on a planet which could be the Legends world of Wayland. We saw a female medical officer who was wearing the same outfit of the cloning expert Dr. Pershing from The Mandalorian. As soon as that scene was over, it clicked, and I saw exactly what Lucasfilm are trying to do. We'll come back to this specific scene later in more depth, but let's break it all down from the start. Dave Filoni is trying to create a big web between every show that he's involved in. This includes The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, Star Wars Ahsoka, The Book of Boba Fett, and even older shows like Star Wars Rebels and The Clone Wars. Now, while Dave is not in charge of all of these and only has writing credits for The Bad Batch and The Book of Boba Fett, he is the executive creative director at Lucasfilm, and every project goes through him. I believe that this web that he's creating is going to connect major themes, characters, and storylines. It seems to me that what we got in Season 1 and how Season 2 has been set up for next year, that he's using The Bad Batch as the focal show of all of this. From the moment that we got a Bad Batch trailer all the way back in April, we were introduced to a young clone called Omega. It was clear that the series was all about her, and to this day there is so much mystery surrounding her identity. But we did get a vital piece of the puzzle when Tech announced that she's got first generation Django DNA, and that technically she's Boba Fett's sibling. Instantly, our minds turned to the Book of Boba Fett, which comes out later this year. Now, I'm not sure if she's going to appear in the Book of Boba Fett as a 40-year-old woman, but in either case, Lucasfilm wants to connect her story to Boba Fett. This is amplified by the fact that we got Fennec Shand, another Mandoverse character in the show as well. Some fans suspect that the backstory between Fennec Shand and Boba is going to be explored in the Bad Batch Season 2. But going back to Omega, she's been set up as the new Ahsoka Tano, so to speak. She starts out in animation and will be brought into live action later on. Our Season 1 finale confirmed that aspects of the Bad Batch are going to connect to the Mandalorian, and I think that Omega in some capacity is a big part of this plan. Bringing her into the Book of Boba Fett makes the most sense, but part of me thinks that it's too early for that. We've only just been introduced to the character, and they should explore more of her in animation before showing us where she ended up during the Mandalorian timeline in her middle age. But there's always that chance for the Mandalorian Season 3 or Star Wars Ahsoka 1 year after that. The Bad Batch further connected to the Filoniverse when Rebels characters started appearing. Young Hera Syndulla and Chopper interacted with Omega and the Bad Batch in 2 episodes of Season 1. Just as with all things, this was not done coincidentally. There have been reports for months that Hera Syndulla is going to be brought into live action in one of Favreau and Filoni's projects, and the Bad Batch giving her more of a backstory and making her a big deal kind of confirmed it. On top of that, the show solidified a strong bond between Omega and Hera. There's no doubt the two are going to meet again in live action further down the timeline. Again, this could be in any of the shows, but most likely in Rangers of the New Republic when it goes back into production after having been shelved. The next character I want to bring up is Captain Rex. He was pivotal in the Clone Wars and Rebels, and him meeting Omega in the Bad Batch might have some important implications if he's still alive by the time of The Mandalorian. I would love to see Rex in the Ahsoka series since she's one of his best friends, and I think I speak for all Clone Wars fans when I say we need to see Tamora Morrison as Rex at least once. I think that Rex definitely has a place in the grand plan for the Filoniverse, although it's not certain what Rex is going to be up to during the Ahsoka series. But reintroducing him into the Bad Batch and having him interact with Omega might be more important than we think. Now let's talk about the members of Clone Force 99 themselves. I'll be completely honest with you, I don't think they will all survive long enough to see the galaxy after the Empire's fall. Maybe 1 or 2 of them, but I've always had a hunch that Echo is going to be the one that outlives all of his brothers. And the irony is, he was once a reg. Those father-daughter type bonding moments with Omega in the series were not set up for nothing. Although he took a backseat for the majority of season 1, he's a great leader and mentor to Omega, and there are definitely times that it's clear that she looks up to him. The next piece of the puzzle that I want to connect is the subject of cloning. Until the season 1 finale, I was convinced the cloning that we see in the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch are separate to the one that takes place during the Mandalorian chapter 12, but the finale showed us that while Kamino has now been destroyed by the Empire, the remnant of what Nala Se can do with her abilities is going to connect to later experimentation that will eventually lead to the creation of Snoke. But as I said in my full breakdown, I don't think they're going the Snoke route right away. Let me explain. The cloning facility that we see at the end looks like the one on Wayland. The forest planet is almost identical and the timeline matches up. In the original Thrawn trilogy, Palpatine used Wayland for his personal cloning projects. It's where he created Sabayoth and Luke Skywalker's evil clone, Luke, spelt with 2 U's. Something that really needs to be spoken about is the fact that at this point, the Empire is obsessed with finding younglings who survived the Great Jedi Purge and using them for their Force-sensitive experiments. So instead of Snoke, I think Nala Se's projects are going to involve extracting DNA from Jedi younglings. This is how it connects to The Mandalorian because Grogu fits that profile. According to Ahsoka in The Mandalorian chapter 13, he was hidden after the Clone War and then his mind goes dark. What if he was used by the Empire and those experiments caused him to lose part of his memory, or maybe even suffer from PTSD. In any case, there's no doubt they'll bring Grogu into the picture somehow, especially since the human scientist that we see at the end wore the exact clothing of Dr. Pershing from The Mandalorian. And Dr. Pershing was someone who was hired as a cloner after Kamino's fall, so we might even see him being brought into the Bad Batch Season 2 as well. If they're going the expanded universe route, then Grand Admiral Thrawn will also play a big role somehow. In any case, we know we're going to see him in the Ahsoka series. Dave Filoni and Lucasfilm more broadly have a wide-ranging plan for their upcoming shows that tie into the Mandalorian universe. The Bad Batch will connect to it in a significant way, and now we have to get ready to see some of these characters make their way into live action. I'm sure we're all excited to see Omega in live action, Hera Syndulla and Chopper of course, because those are characters we've wanted to see being brought into live action for many years. Captain Rex of course, and any of the survivors of the Bad Batch. The future of Star Wars is bright, and I think we're in for a real treat. But now my friends, I turn it over to you. What do you make of everything we spoke about in today's video? Do you think there's this big plan for Lucasfilm that connects The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, Rebels, The Clone Wars, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and eventually Rangers of the New Republic? If you guys enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new and a huge welcome if you are, and also please consider contributing by becoming a patron. The link is down there in the description, but otherwise my friends, I'm Star Wars Meg wishing you all a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.